What's up guys, it's James from Lucrative MMA. I'm back to drop some more knowledge on you. The knowledge I'm going to be dropping today is the weekly free bet video. Probably my most popular video because everybody likes a freebie. So last week I gave you guys a winning free bet. It was the Sumudaji versus Malcolm Gordon fight to go under 2.5 rounds. We cashed that bet at minus 175, which was ridiculous value. Looking back at the fight, I probably would now cap that bet at around minus 1,000, possibly minus 2,000, because it did look like that would have probably cashed about 90 to 95% of the time. So I'm not just saying minus 1,000, minus 2,000 for effect because they sound like big numbers. I legitimately think that that's what the bet should have been at, but we got it at minus 175. So I hope a lot of you made some money on that. I sure did. My members sure did. We went in 8 units on that bet, which is 2 units under my max bet. So that's how confident I was in it. And to get a max bet at minus 175 odds, or near enough max bet, I was happy with that. This week, I'm actually going to give you a juicy plus money underdog. So last week, we had the minus 175 bet. Actually, this week, I'm going to give you a plus 140 bet. Depending on where you shop, I believe you can still get him at plus 150. So, you know, it's a big contrast. No real reason why I'm switching it around this time. I literally pick a random bet. I pick a bet out of the... So for those of you don't know, I run a betting consultancy service. So I have multiple members and I send them bets each week as soon as I'm finished tape. And as soon as I make a bet myself, I send them the bet straight away. In fact, before I even place the bet, I'll send the email out and then I'll go and place the bet myself. So what I do is I have about, maybe 5 to 10 bets each card, usually on the upper end of 10, around 7 or 8. And I'll just literally pick a random bet out of any of them and then chuck it up on YouTube to give you guys a freebie. So it's not my most confident play. It's not the play where I believe I had the most value. It's literally a completely random selection. So look, the bet might not hit. It's a plus 140 underdog. Don't come crying to me if it doesn't hit, because I'm not betting this bet as a single, Like, to make money long term, which me and my members do, I don't just bet one bet per card. This is just a random bet I've given to you. But as I say, my members have about 8 or 9 bets locked in for this weekend. If you did want to become a member, all you need to do is visit the website down below. You can read more about me, check my results, my history, all of that stuff if you want to find that out. You can also subscribe to my blog on the free tips page, where I actually send you the free tip to your email, as well as send you betting knowledge and stuff like that if you didn't want to sign up. But look, anyway, I'm going to get straight into it. This is what you come here for. It is the free bet. So the fight we're going to be having a bet on is Cody Durden versus Jimmy Flick. Now, these fighters are relatively new to the UFC. In fact, this is going to be Jimmy Flick's debut, and this is going to be Cody Durden's debut where he actually has a full camp, because I believe he came in on short notice for his last fight, which was against Chris Gutierrez. Now, this is a grappler's delight, this fight. They're going to be grappling, well, I hope they're not going to be grappling too much, and I'll get to that later. But this is a grappler's delight. Both these fighters are grapplers, but very different type of grapplers. So Cody Durden is coming into the fight as a wrestling champion. I don't believe he was Division 1, but he's a wrestling champion in America nonetheless, and his wrestling chops are solid. We saw that in the Chris Gutierrez fight, which was his debut in the UFC. He took Chris Gutierrez, who is a seasoned fighter in the UFC, he took him down in the first round, and he managed to actually 10-8 him. I did say on my preliminary card breakdown video, which you can also catch on my YouTube, where I give breakdowns of the whole preliminary card and my predictions, as well as analyzing the betting lines. That's live on my YouTube now, so you can actually go and check it. In that breakdown of this fight, because this fight is on a preliminary card, I did mention that the 10-8 that he got over Chris Gutierrez was one of the lighter 10-8s. I believe it could have been given a 10-9 if we was under a different rule set. The 10-8 rule set has changed in the last year or 2 years. I can't remember when that took place. But if it was another time or another judge, they probably wouldn't have given him a 10-8. He did control the round for the whole round, but he did not have too much offense except for one submission attempt he had, and he had a bit of ground and pound. But he did get the 10-8 nonetheless, but then he got picked apart for the rest of the fight, which you will do if you cannot get Chris Gutierrez to the ground. Cody Durden slowed down with his wrestling power. It seemed like his double legs and his whole wrestling game, his takedowns weren't as strong in the second and third rounds, which is obvious, especially if you're coming in on short notice. So he got picked apart for the rest of that fight, and Chris Gutierrez won round 2 and 3, so it was scored a draw. The reason I mentioned the 10-8 was a bit of a light 10-8 was because if it was scored a 10-9, which it could have been if it was another judge or another time, he would have lost that fight, 29-28. But nevertheless, it was a very good debut against a very good opponent. So I believe his stock rose from that fight rather than dropped. Jimmy Flick, on the other hand, this is going to be his debut. Jimmy Flick is a kill or be killed fighter. If he doesn't submit you, you're going to knock him out. That's what his record shows me, and that's what tape research shows me as well. All of his fights, I believe, all of his wins, except for 1 or 2, are coming by the way of submission. Not stoppage, not ground and pound, not TKO, specifically submission. This guy is high level on the mat. He chains his submission attempts together beautifully. If you defend one submission, instantly you're in another. He's very good at chaining the submissions together, especially anything around your head and shoulder. That whole headlock series, he's very high level at that. He's very good at transitioning to different positions on the mat, but he is submission over position, and he will lose position at times hunting that submission. But that's Jimmy Flick's game. That's why we like him. That's why Dana White signed him. He is coming in after Dana White's Contender Series, where he got a third round submission over Nate Smith. I do believe, though, that his cardio is something that we can call into question unless he is completely dominating the fight like he did against Nate Smith. You know, he was doing everything he wanted to Nate Smith. That's why he was able to last in the third rounds. But I have seen him on the regional scene when the fight's not quote-unquote going his way, when he's not able to chain these submission attempts together, when he's not able to get these fighters consistently down, he does start to tire. He starts to not believe in himself, and he actually starts to get pieced up on the feet, and usually he gets knocked out. So this week, we're going to go with Cody Durden as the underdog. As I said, I'm going to give you guys a juicy underdog play. Cody Durden is actually plus 140 at the moment, plus 150, depending on where you shop around. He was up at about a plus 190, plus 180 at some point last week, but, you know, money started to come in on Cody Durden, and I can see why. So how these fighters break down against each other. Obviously, I've mentioned that Cody Durden is a wrestler and Cody Durden is a jiu-jitsu fighter. Now, there's this narrative going around. I just want to touch on this real quickly. There's this narrative going around in MMA, in the gambling circles, not even in gambling, just in MMA circles specifically. You know, you always hear this from people who are into MMA and don't even know anything about gambling. There's a narrative that wrestling beats jiu-jitsu, right? I disagree with this. We've seen so many examples of the wrestler taking down a jiu-jitsu guy and getting subbed. You know, it happens regularly. I'm not going to say that wrestling doesn't beat jiu-jitsu, but I don't agree with this narrative that, like, yeah, you got a wrestling fighter, you got a jiu-jitsu fighter, bet the wrestler. It's not how it works, man. A lot of times I am looking to bet the jiu-jitsu guy. Look, at the end of the day, there's no style beats style because it depends how you portray that style. I can feel myself going into a rant, so I'm going to kind of keep it calm because I just want to give you guys the bet and move on. This is probably another video for another day. But just beware of that wrestling always beats jiu-jitsu narrative because it's not the case. Anyway, in this case, I think it probably is the case. I'm hoping, because I've got a bet on Cody Durden and I'm tipping it, I'm hoping that Cody Durden is going to be able to use his wrestling. So how these two fighters break down? Obviously, Jimmy Flick is going to come out hard in that first round and he's going to try and get the submission. And actually, the bookies are favouring a Jimmy Flick first round submission. That's what they have as their most probable outcome in this fight. The under is set for under 1.5 rounds. Under 1.5 rounds is minus money, and Jimmy Flick is the favourite. Therefore, they're saying he's going to get the submission in the first or second round, or the first half of the second round. And the first round submission is a lot less juicy than the second round submission. So the bookies think Jimmy Flick's going to come out and submit Cody Durden in the first round. If he doesn't do that, okay, that is his win condition. If he can definitely do that. Like, of course, he does it to so many people. If he doesn't do that, I believe he's going to get beat here, and I believe he will probably get knocked out here. Although I do believe Cody Durden can get a decision over Jimmy Flick. So Jimmy Flick's going to be coming out very heavy in that first round. He's a very crazy fighter, so he really tries to get the fight to the ground because he knows that is where he dominates most of his opponents. The thing though you have to realize in this fight is that he is fighting Cody Durden, who's a very strong wrestler. He has very strong hips. I don't think he's just going to be able to muscle Cody Durden to the ground. In fact, I'm almost 100% sure he won't be able to muscle Cody Durden to the ground. Of course he can get him to the ground. You know, he may hit a nice perfectly timed takedown as Cody's coming in, or he may do a great a trip, you know, like, or he may even jump on his back when there's a little grappling exchange up against the fence, a scramble, or when Cody gets close. There's ways he can get the fight to the ground, but I'm almost certain he's not going to muscle him to the ground. So then that takes a huge part of getting to the ground out of the game, right? If he's not going to muscle him, then he's going to have to rely on, and this is what he will have to do in my opinion, he's going to have to rely on some sort of chaos that he can latch onto Cody Durden's limb, one of his limbs, and drag him to the ground. You know, he might be able to get him up against the fence and then hop on his back, but I'm happy to take the shot on the underdog because that is way less likely, or that is way less easy to do than just to take someone down. And I don't think he's going to be able to take Cody Durden down here. Again, obviously he can, but I just don't think he will. So that leaves me to say that if that's not going to happen, this is where the fight will start to turn, because I've seen it in many of Jimmy Flick's fights. If he can't get that guy to the ground, his opponent, and even if he does get him to the ground, if he can't submit him, he starts to tire. He starts to doubt himself, especially if that opponent is then putting pressure on him and hitting him with hard shots. This guy is similar to Malcolm Gordon, who we cashed against last week in the free bet video. He is similar in the fact that he doesn't really like getting hit. When he gets hit, he shells up. That is not something you want to see out of a mixed martial arts fighter. Jimmy Flick's got 20 fights on his record. You would have thought he would have got used to getting hit by now. He doesn't like it. Exactly like Malcolm Gordon, shells up. Malcolm Gordon was about 12-4 coming into that fight. He had 16 fights. Jimmy Flick has got 20. These guys, they're never going to get used to getting hit. He would have got used to it by now. If Cody Durden can defend the takedowns, which I believe he will, he is going to start piecing up Jimmy Flick on the feet. I don't think it's a complete blowout on the feet, but Jimmy Flick is... Man, look, it's only a matter of time before you're going to catch Jimmy Flick. Jimmy Flick might look decent early on the feet. Everyone looks decent early on the feet. As soon as he can't get him down, which I don't think he will be able to, as soon as he hasn't submitted him, doubt is going to start to creep in, and them 5 losses that he has are going to start playing in his head. And when Cody Durden, a wrestler, is putting that wrestling forward pressure, but sticking to the striking and cracking him with solid leg kicks, which Cody Durden has, and good punches, good power in his punches. He's a wrestler, you know, most of them do have power. You know, that old proverb about the wrestler, all they have is a wrestling and an overhand right. Look, man, that's all you're going to need in this fight. Wrestling to defend the takedowns of Jimmy, and the overhand right to crack him on the chin of Jimmy and to set Jimmy down. You know, I hope that Cody Durden is going to stick to a good game plan, because if he goes out there and tries to do what he does in all of his other fights, which is wrestle his opponent, he's going to get submitted. It's pretty clear, but I believe Cody Durden's not a stupid fighter. He knows what he has to do to win. He's going to come here pretty motivated after that good showing against a solid fighter in Chris Gutierrez. Side note, Chris Gutierrez actually stopped Jimmy Flick when they fought. MMA math doesn't make sense, but I just thought I'd throw that in there. Look, I think this fight is a super close fight. Anytime you're fighting Jimmy Flick, it's going to be a close fight. You're not going to fucking wash him out, because he's always live for the submission. I don't care who he's fighting. He's such a great submission fighter. But at plus 140, I'm happy to take the shot on Cody Durden there. So that's the free bet for today. Plus 140, Cody Durden. If you want to do Cody Durden to win inside the distance, you can juice it up a little bit. But I'm not tipping that because, as I said, I do believe that Cody Durden could fight his way to a decision. But I do obviously favour Cody Durden to knock Jimmy Flick out probably in the end of the first round, or the beginning to the middle of the second round, once that doubt starts to set in, once Jimmy Flick realises he can't just take this guy down and submit this guy like he does to everybody else. So There we have it, guys. Final prediction, Cody Durden by first or second round knockout. And the bet I'm tipping is Cody Durden to win at plus 140. So if you want to sign up for my service and get all of my bets, as well as all of my training courses that teach you how to gamble professionally and not stupid and lose your money, then all you need to do is go to the description box below. I'm going to have everything you need in there. But that is it, guys. I will see you next week where I come back and I will give you another free bet for the card. Next week we have a huge card coming up. Davison Figueiredo, Brandon Moreno, Tony Ferguson, Charles Oliveira. But I'm going to get out your hair, guys. I will see you in the next video.